Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I am standing on my yoga mat, but now I'm standing on my rug. If you don't have a yoga mat, you can do this whole practice on a rug, or maybe there's an area in your house that's carpeted that would be a great yoga mat for you today. I have 2 yoga blocks, but you could absolutely substitute 2 thick books and a folded blanket, which might be a beach towel, the throw blanket from your couch. We will start standing in our mountain pose, which is the foundation for all poses. Palms turning out, feet parallel in hip distance. A little softness to our mountain, a little bend to our knees. Instead of straining our neck, we let our chin be parallel to the ground. And it's here that we stop so that we can start. Feel the evenness between your 2 feet, and there's actually almost a little dance, isn't there, between our 2 feet as we stand upon them. Allow your palms facing away from one another to originate at your shoulder joint and inspire an uplift of your heart. We'll find our breath here, and you've been breathing all this while, or you would not be standing with me, but it's likely that we haven't paid a lot of attention to the breathing that we're doing. So let's bring awareness to our breath. And if you are able to breathe both in and out through your nose, that's ideal. Mostly, I just want you to fully experience your inhale and fully experience your exhale, which sounds obvious until it's time to do it. And then we realize, I don't pay a lot of attention to my breathing. Let's just make a little pact to do that as we practice today. Now we'll take our mountain and grow a tree, bringing our hands onto our hips, standing on our left foot and taking our right leg out in front of us. Now from your right hip joint, turn that right leg out as if you were dancing a jig, and make sure you're sturdy with your left hip hugging in as you do that. Then turn that right leg up. You can always use your hand on a wall or maybe on the arm of your couch. Turn that right leg out. We're dancing a jig again. This is called external rotation at your right hip. Turn your toes forward, which is really turn at your hip to turn those toes parallel. One more time we dance a jig, but this time we plant a little kickstand next to our left ankle. And we make sure that we're not letting our left hip swing out to the side. Then it could be as simple as placing that right foot in your shin or keep the kickstand. You might even bring your right foot up into your inner left thigh. I think at this point, left hand on a wall is a really good idea, or on the arm of your couch. And then we'll grow our branches once we have deep roots. A V shape, thumbs to the sky, and you can still feel evidence of the jig you were dancing happening in your right hip. Bring your hands to your hips, maybe left hand onto some sort of support. Turn your right knee forward, step down, and we return to our mountain. Soft bend in our knees, uplift of our heart. You might just shift and use your right hand on whatever has been helpful to support you, or hands can maybe come to both hips. Stand on your right leg, and now we take our left leg out in front of us. A little trickier with such small amount of real estate on the ground as only our right leg. From your hip, turn your left leg out, little dancing of a jig, and then turn those toes to face upright, but let that happen at your hip. Turn your left leg out, toes face out to the side. You can feel it happening at your hip. Turn those left toes to the sky, and then one more time, turn your left leg out. We're dancing that jig, and then we kickstand our left foot, the ball of our left foot to the inside of our right ankle. Might stay there. It might be left foot in the inseam of your right shin. Maybe left foot into the inseam of your right thigh. And then once you feel that your roots are sturdy, you can start to spread your branches, and it might just be right hand upon a support of some sort. A V shape with our thumbs to the sky, and a few breaths with maybe a little bit of wind in our trees sometimes. Hands to your hips, turn that left knee forward, step down, we return to our mountain. And then we'll turn and face the short edge of our mat, just in case that's not how we were situated to dance our jig together. Turn your palms out once again. Find that soft gaze and soft bend in your knees. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Take your hands to your thighs for this first one. Let's use our hands on our thighs to press into our thighs and uplift our heart as we inhale. And then re-hinge our hips. And you could slide your hands down a little bit lower, but as we do, let's prioritize keeping length in our spine so we don't find ourselves crumbling down our legs, and there's no agenda to get down our legs. Then we'll inhale, uplift our heart, and slide our hands up. Exhale, fold ourselves back in. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Let's try just that much again. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Slide your hands up and we uplift our heart. Exhale, fold maybe a little bit deeper but with a long spine. And then rise, reach. Inhale, arms to the sky, V, and we stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Let's add on. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up. Now we bend our knees deeply enough that our palms go flat on the ground. And we'll walk as if there was a hook in our tailbone into down dog. Keep a bend to your knees for this first one. Push into your mat, push the ground away so we're not collapsed into bent elbows here. And then as your hips lift up and back, you might step your legs a little bit wider. Sometimes I find that to be very helpful for me. Keep the hook in your tailbone, keep pushing the ground away. You can feel your spine and all four sides of your body get inspired to lengthen, as if your butt were taking them to that corner where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then let's walk forward. Our feet come to our hands, hip distance. Inhale, glide your hands up, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge and fold in. Then inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, and we pause, palms facing out. We'll add more. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, slide your hands up. Bend your knees deeply enough that your palms go flat, and we step back to our down dog. This time from down dog, let's playfully shift shoulders over wrists like a plank, and then the hook in our tailbone takes us back to down dog. We'll go back and forth towards a plank as we inhale and towards a down dog, letting that hook take us back as we exhale. One more time, inhale, shoulders over wrists, and now bring your knees down. Let's keep this a plank. We're not collapsed into our shoulders. We're pushing the ground away, but we have our knees down and our toes curled under. Our knees are a little further back in space than they would be if we were choosing hands and knees. So it gives you a little bit of an alignment point. Now shift a little bit forward. Let's try to stay in one piece and lower all the way down onto our bellies. Once we're there, Sphinx pose, forearms parallel to the short edges of your mat. Traction your elbows towards you, press into the tops of your feet. Feel your kneecaps come up off the ground because you're activating your legs. Now as we use that traction of our elbows towards our body, we feel our heart move through the gateway of our arms, which we want. Lower down, bring your hands next to your ribs, curl your toes under in one piece, so that means core strength. We come to all fours. And then the hook in our tailbone takes us to down dog. From down dog, walk forward, feet to your hands. Feet are hip distance. We inhale, slide our hands up, and then we exhale and slide our hands down as we fold. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we'll stand with our palms facing out in our mountain. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. We bend our knees and place our palms completely flat for down dog as we push the ground away. Keep pushing the ground away as you shift to plank, shoulders right over wrists. Bring your knees gently to the ground, and then in one piece, our bellies come all the way down onto the ground. We will uncurl our toes and either leave our hands here for cobra or go to the Sphinx pose you may have done earlier. We all did earlier. And then we lower down, and in one piece with our toes curled under, we come through all fours. And from all fours into down dog, our hips lift us up and back. We'll walk forward, our feet come all the way up to our hands, and then we inhale, glide our hands up, and exhale, hinge, folding back in. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Let's step wide, and as we do, arrange our props. So you'll take your 2 tall blocks, or books, as the case may be, and set them on either edge of your long edge of your mat. So we are going to turn wide and use one long edge as the front of our mat and then the other one as the back of our mat. Your blocks are not on your mat, they're not underfoot, they're just off the sides. And then take your arms wide out to the side. We step out wide and we start with that feeling of ankles underneath wrists. Bring your hands to your hips, think back in time to when we danced a jig together. Right leg turns out like dancing a jig, but now we're weight bearing, we're standing on it. Our left heel is going to slide back 5 inches. And then with our arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, we bend our front knee. And in my case, my right knee is over my right ankle, like a little too short of a stance. So scooch your right foot forward, especially if you're finding that that vertical line is also not happening for you. And now we're in Warrior 2. Instead of letting our back leg bend and collapse, press your left thigh bone into your hamstring. Feel that we're still dancing a jig or doing a tree pose of sorts in our right hip. And now take right forearm across right thigh and left arm up to the sky. Instead of swinging our butt out over towards the right, see if you can hug your right hip underneath you as if swinging it to the left. You can stay like this or bring your tall block to the outside of your right foot. It's called side angle pose. And whether it's your forearm or your hand on your block, you're allowing that right thigh bone to move to the right a little bit instead of collapse to the left. We'll pause a moment here and then come upright into our Warrior 2 and straighten our right leg. Once we've got a straight right leg, we want to make sure we don't side bend in our next pose. So take your right hand, make a little bit of a karate chop, and feel your left hip lift. So a hinge at our right hip. We'll reach way out with our right hand and find our block. Maybe find our shin, but if that's the case, be very careful not to push too hard on your shin. 3 moments together here in our triangle pose. The option to stay exactly where we are, or take your left hand onto your left hip and float your triangle onto just your right leg, stepping up, extending that left leg behind us, maybe even left arm up to the sky. Then we'll very carefully return to triangle where some of us remained. And once we stick our landing in our triangle, we take a gaze down, move our block off to the side as we bend our right knee, our front leg, and we come into the Warrior 2 that got us into this mess. And then straighten your front leg, lower your arms, turn all toes to face that long edge of your mat, and give yourself a moment to digest a bunch of different poses in a row before we head to the second side of that. Remember our jig, that external rotation, that's what it's called. Turn that into your left hip and let your left toes face the short edge of your mat. Cheat your right heel back at that 45-degree angle. Unless you changed your stance, our stance might be pretty good as is, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Bend your front knee, and let's just check on that vertical line from our left knee to our left ankle. We make sure that we're not crumbling our right knee, so press that thigh bone into its hamstring. You can feel outer edge of your right foot, back foot, solid. The arch is buoyant and lifted. 2 moments together here. We'll take left forearm across left thigh, right arm up to the sky. We're not collapsed into that shoulder. And some of us will actually opt to trot our block in to the outside of our left foot. Right arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. If that ever becomes fatiguing, you can always weave that arm behind your back or take your right hand onto your right hip instead. 3 moments feeling a magnet in our left thigh, moving our left thigh towards the left instead of collapsing towards the right. We make our way upright into Warrior Two and then straighten our front leg. And we educate not a side bend, a hinge at our left hip. We reach way out with our left hand down, right arm up to the sky, or if you like it, behind your back at any point in time. Our front leg is not locked so much as fluid. So if you press your left big toe mound into your mat, you can feel your muscles engage, and we would like to invite them to our triangle stretch party. You have the option to remain exactly as we are, or to take that right hand on your hip, look down, move your block forward about a foot, lift your right leg, and then maybe even your right arm for a moment if you've chosen to do this little variation. Then look down, let's carefully, light as a feather, step back to our triangle, moving your block with you outside of your left foot. And then a mindful exit. Look down, bend your left knee, move your block off your mat, come to Warrior Two, straighten your front leg, turn all toes to face that long edge of your mat. Hands on your hips, lift your heart. Fold, hinging at your hips here, and take your hands to the ground. You can also opt to take your 2 blocks underneath your hands. Lift your heart and inhale. And then fold into a little contemplative forward fold moment here. Just folding in on ourselves, digesting that last little sequence of events. Then firm your belly, bring your hands to your hips, come all the way upright, heel toe. We're hip distance, and then we can maneuver our way to the front edge of our mat. But first, let's reorganize our props. Take the block that was furthest away, put 2 blocks on either side of you as you face the short edge of your mat, and remember, not underfoot, but close by, close enough to find them when we need them. Then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale. Bend your knees, palms go flat, downward facing dog. In our down dog, lift your right leg back behind you, step that right foot forward. Often we have to help that along. And then here, framing our right foot in a lunge that's facing forward, let's heel toe our right foot over to the right just a little bit. And pause here. We will move from this launch of a lunge into a letter T and move our blocks with us as we do. So firm your belly, move your blocks forward about a foot, and lift your left leg off the ground and back behind you. A couple of moments just like this. So we're talking about hips a little bit today. We have external rotation, our little dancing of a jig. This is now flexion at our hip. That's what's happening at our right hip. And in a moment, we are going to visit extension at our left hip. But first, a little flexion. So bend your left knee into your chest. You're going to need to firm your belly. Bring your hands to your hips and come up to standing. That's a tricky balance challenge. You might want your right hand on a wall or on the arm of your couch for this. Take your left hand. As you sort of kick yourself in the butt with your left heel, reach and see if you can find that foot. And if you can't, that's fine. Just the attempt is cool, is great. And like I said, find a wall for your right hand if you'd rather. But let's stand tall. This is called King Dancer pose. How about that? 2 moments. Then step it down into your mountain, palms face out. We let that digest. Let's move our blocks back to where they originally were because we've moved them in the flow of things, and we will do that on side 2. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Lift your heart as we inhale, palms flat, step it to downward facing dog. Then lift your left leg behind you, step that left foot through, help it along, frame that left foot with your blocks. Heel toe your left foot a little bit to the left, and then we have this launch of a lunge, and we first tend to firming our belly. Then we move our blocks a foot out in front of our left foot and lift our right leg behind us in a letter T. Couple of moments here, feeling our core stability, also feeling that we have a weight-bearing left leg that has what's called flexion at the hip joint happening in it. And before we take what's called extension in our right hip, we will bend our right knee into our chest and then come up to standing, giving it a squeeze, and that's a balance challenge for sure. You might hop your way over to your couch and use the arm of it. Then kick yourself in the butt with your right foot. This is extension at our hip. Reach with your left hand. If you find it, that's great. If it's just an attempt, that's perfect too. And then maybe left hand on a wall or something to assist. It can also be left hand on your hip. 2 moments here. Carefully step it down, stand into your mountain. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up. We can move our blocks out of the way, palms flat. We make our way to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg, step your right foot forward, help it along, and lower your back knee. Once you've lowered your back knee, 1, maybe even 2 blocks inside of our right foot. Walk your right foot forward so that you've got a pretty nice vertical line between your knee and ankle here too. Bend your left knee like you did moments ago in your King Dancer. Reach back now with your right hand for your left foot. Maybe you find it, maybe you don't. You can even use a kitchen towel to catch that foot if you want to. And you may want to use your blanket to pad your left knee, because I know this can get knee intense pretty quickly. Two moments here. Gently let go of your foot if you have it. Straighten your front leg, curl your toes back. This becomes a half split. So if you want, you can take your right heel a little bit further and deepen the split, but I think for a lot of us, we'll feel all the feels that we need to in our hamstring with this half split, especially if you grow tall in your spine and introduce a hinge at your hips instead of a crumble and a round. So all of this is about sensation. None of it is, I need to get my face close to my leg. Let's take 3 silent moments together here. To come out of this, we'll stay low, bend your right knee, sweep your right knee next to your left knee, and just step your left foot forward here close to the ground. You might walk your left foot to the left, take your 2 blocks and stack them. Stalk them. Maybe what you want to do is pad that back knee, and we will reach back with our left hand now for our right foot and just see what we find. It's okay if you don't find it. Lots of extension at our right hip right now. A few silent moments to enjoy extension at our hip. If you think about it, it's the opposite of all the hours that we sit. We'll carefully let go of that back foot, straighten our front leg, frame our left leg with our blocks. And maybe scoot the heel forward a little bit, but just find a place where you can explore hinge at the hip, hamstring sensation, so a little stretch in the back of your leg, maybe your calf muscle too. A few silent moments together here. And then to exit, we bend our left knee, swoop that left knee next to our right. Take your props, your blocks, possibly your blanket, off to the side, and we'll lie down on our backs. And once we do, one easy bridge pose. So just take your arms overhead and lift your hips up. And note that it's sort of like doing King Dancer with both legs at the same time. Release down, scoot your hips to the right. Let your knees drop to the left. You might enjoy crossing your right knee over your left knee as you do that. And then we'll come to center and scoot our hips to the left. Let our knees drop to the right, maybe left knee over right knee as we twist. We'll come down the middle. One more time in our easy bridge. So feet hip distance, arms overhead, and then just an easy, breezy uplift as if King Dancer were happening 2 times or on 2 sides simultaneously. And then we'll gently release our hips down and make our way into our Shavasana final meditation. You can snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you. Maybe it feels best to have bent knees for you, or straighten one leg and then the other leg into our Shavasana final meditation. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation for as long as you would like. If you're ready to start to find your way back, do it slowly. Wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. You might stretch your arms and legs away from one another. And then gather your knees into your chest. Roll to either side. Come up to any comfortable way to sit, cross-legged, on a block, on a folded blanket. And then palms go up or down as we pause and appreciate. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I look forward